All right, man. Well, I'm just going to welcome you in. We're going to get rolling here.
Thank you.
Say hello to Adam Burnett, coming live from somewhere in East Tennessee, I think.
Yes, sir.
And bringing the heat. Knoxville. And bringing the heat jacket. Why'd you tell me you brought that jacket on again?
Well, I told you a couple of days ago, my biggest fear was I did not want to tarnish the C26 brand in any way. But also, maybe more importantly, was I did not want to affect the IPO that's coming out first quarter of 26.
Yeah.
You guys heard it here first,
Yeah.
So there's that.
It's all about the brand, man. And
yes, sir.
Like we were saying, you look like our new CEO or something coming in here. Introducing our new CEO, Adam Burnett, public company. We're going live next week, the IPO.
Yeah, we'll be public. Before you know it.
Yeah. So, I'm really tempted to start with what you just went through, but let's go back into first of all, how you dealing with BVS?
Yeah, BVS, battered ball syndrome.
Battered ball.
Most Big Orange fans can identify with that. But yeah, it rears its ugly head this time of year, usually March Madness, second round. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a known cure as of yet. But man, you get a thick skin after a while, right? So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well,
I just hope we don't lose our baseball coach today. That's the other thing. So.
Yeah, that's bizarre, man. He's going from coaching college to being the Giants manager.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's a good coach. I don't know. It's just interesting. I don't know his background, but anyway, what about your background? When did you get into the triathlon and how's it been treating you and why'd you get in?
That's a great question. I'd say it's probably 2018. I'd kind of made a change. Maybe, physically, I think up to that point, being married with 3 children, I'd perfected, kind of that dad bod, maybe being on the cover of Dad Bod Illustrated was not, something I really aspired to do. So, made a change, started running, lost some weight. And, I had a good friend of mine that, he was pretty persistent in that he thought I would enjoy doing a couple of sprints with him. And so I would say that was probably 2021. Mm-hmm. And really enjoyed those. And I think to me personally that the thing that was different was, the maybe the relationships and the camaraderie. And not that, marathons, 5Ks, halves didn't necessarily have that, but there was something different there too. And I think also, there was a small piece of me that kind of recalls, maybe back in the early 80s, sitting around with my dad watching, what was it, on ABC with Jim McKay.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh,
yeah. The Wide World of Sports, Thrill of Victory, Agony of Defeat type of thing. And seeing Ironman, at an early age and just thinking, wow, wouldn't that be something? And so, I think that's maybe the seed was planted in, if you will.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. And your first racing was a sprint, you said, over there in Knoxville, or?
Yeah, we did. I think we did a couple of sprints that year.
Okay.
And so it was a blast, and I guess that's where I've become accustomed to the term, bopper, BOP, back of the packer. And I was like, hey man, that's me. It's kind of like I felt like that mullet I tried to grow in 87, 88, those guys in the front, they're all business, in the back, that's where the party is. Right. So I enjoyed it.
Back there.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. So we got that. I skipped our first thing about, like, and I think it's appropriate because you're sitting in the top of the tower out there overlooking the valley with your suit
Yeah.
on and professional life. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you start, like your business career as a youngster in, weren't you sort of like the security guard for the numbers runners in town or something like this?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's often
You know
that's
what? I don't know if you can see it. Can you see? Okay, you see the pool balls back there in the little
yeah,
dark.
pool balls.
So yeah, full disclosure. Of course, I guess the statute of limitations we're beyond that now. But so yeah, those familiar with Knoxville, there was an establishment in town that may or may not have taken bets from time to time, and a member of my family may or may not have been in the hierarchy of that organization. So as a young kid, I kind of equate it to like a scene off Goodfellas. They give me $5-10, sit there, look out a window, make sure the cops weren't coming up. The only problem was the cops were in the back playing poker, right? So they were all, it was just something I'm sure to keep Adam pacified and out of their way. So yeah, it was great. A lot of sports memorabilia in that place. Very old, very classic.
Yeah, you're into sports memorabilia,
Oh
and that's
yeah, I
probably
love
where
it.
it started. Yeah, yeah. Um, well, let's just because it's sports memorabilia. You came to Madison. You told me about that sports memorabilia place on State Street. I tried to go there, and they weren't open the next day yet,
Yeah,
so I missed it. But I plan to get in there. They have a lot of um, uh, old Badger gear in there,
they
and
do.
you said it was pretty cool. So I want to definitely check that out. But I do want to sort of transition into your experience in Madison because I just think it's interesting because of what you went through to get there and what you went through there and now what you're going through to get back there. And I kind of wonder sometimes if the city of Madison, the campus of Madison isn't paying if karma's not coming back on them on their football team for what they did to you out there.
Well, I mean, yeah, as Bucky is outside the team hotel.
Yeah.
So I don't think he took too kindly to all those, vol for life signals I was giving him, and
False for I should just back up here. So you came up to race Ironman Wisconsin this year and and go from there. So that's where we're at. We're in Ironman Wisconsin.
yes, yes. So,
Bucky didn't like
great race. Obviously, we've never been there before. Marcy and I, my wife, we've been in and around Milwaukee, and so I guess in some respects, Madison and the outlying areas to me remind me a lot of East Tennessee. Very rural, kind of rolling topography, if you will, just beautiful scenery. And so, it's a race I was really looking forward to. And as you know, a couple of years ago, it came over, I don't know, a significant injury, shall we say. And so had completed Chattanooga last year, kind of bummed about that because, obviously that was when the floods came and canceled the swim. So to me, even though I finished that race, there was an asterisk there, right? So be that as it may, you probably remember the practice swim a couple of days before. So
yeah.
I may or may not have consumed an energy drink prior to getting in the water. Bucked up, if I'm not mistaken, was the name of it. Yeah, it'll buck you up. So
You were raving about that on the walk down there.
Do what now?
You were raving about that on the walk down.
Oh yeah, because it was all natural. Marcy had sold me on it, So, needless to say, thankfully that wasn't on race day. So, that, as you know, did not end well that day. So,
Well, I mean, what happened? I think people want to know.
Let's just say, I mean, by the second buoy, by the turn, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even have the courage to look at my watch. I don't know what my heart rate was, but it was way too high.
Yeah, you're
and I thought, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to be one of those guys Robbie talks about occasionally in the swim. I don't want to be that guy, right? You have to come help me. Didn't see any kayaks out there. So it was tough. And as you know, I cut it short. You guys were already done running. You're like, where you been? I was like, I've been up there trying to get back. So that was a struggle. I do not recommend that to anyone. That's not advisable. So got that kind of worked out of my system. But race day morning, great swim, beautiful setting. Get on the bike, and there again, everything's going great. And, I maybe past tense, do not ride with power, just up to this point, kind of going by feel and heart rate. I think that'll probably change. But nonetheless, I think, I don't know, maybe subliminally, I thought, Ironman charges so much for these events now. I might as well get my money's worth, right?
Oh, okay.
So needless to say, a little bit longer, but I didn't feel necessarily, gassed, if you will. So, but looking back, and you and I hadn't had a chance to really debrief about this, so we'll go ahead and, maybe get this out there.
Debrief.
I'll say this, keep this PG rated. I think there's a fifth discipline sometimes in maybe triathlon. We talk about the fourth being nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
But, I would think maybe the fifth would be PPD, porta potty discipline, right? So let's just say drink a lot of water, and so you gotta hit so I probably hit too many of those.
What?
And
Mike, I mean, you could have been fertilizing the fields.
Yeah. And I think what happened was I had, shall we say stage fright,
Oh, okay.
You get a little stage fright in there, and you're worried about your fellow competitors behind you. So lesson learned, but there was a lot of time when I looked on my watch after the race that, were spent in the aid station areas, let's say.
Yeah. So the swim actually went okay though, right? You came back. It
went great. It went great.
Heart to heart talks about a few things, and you got in there and you did all right on the swim. You felt better.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
I thought it was great.
And you got on this bike course, and you ride, like you said, you ride a lot of hills over there, and so you had the PPD, but I mean, how'd you feel out there? I mean,
it was a great course. Great course. I think we drove it a couple of days before, and honestly, after I guess a first loop, it wasn't that I think I just maybe got caught up in the moment and just didn't necessarily coast, but I wasn't pushing it probably as hard as I should have, and didn't really, dawn upon me till I got back to T2. And so you walk, you run into the transition room there, and it's bad when you see, okay, they go from the lines, obviously, of your bags to where now there's just one big pile. And so whatever that equates to from a quantity standpoint, I knew, I was like, whoa, I got to get moving. And so needless to say, I was behind the 8 ball a little bit, and started to run. No real pain initially, but just kind of, pretty sore mood because I knew I had, a little making up to do. And felt okay, really, on the first, I guess, loop. It was, even though I wasn't necessarily as fast as I wanted to be, and as you know, had a little injury a couple months before coming in there, so I think that was probably on my mind as well. There was no significant swelling or whatnot, in my knee, so that was great. But as you know, up to that point, I think my longest run, just based on that, had been around 6 miles, so felt really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was something happened, I guess, on the turn, and it's like, everybody's done. Pretty much that I did. I was like, whoa. It's dark. My watch. It's like all these things happen at once. And for some reason, my watch did not fully charge it. So there goes. It kind of goes. And I guess it was that second loop and through Camp Randall. There again, had a little PPD break there, and noticed I was getting really, really dizzy. And I think some of that maybe after probably mile 6 or 7 on the run, I was just, no more gels, definitely no more Martin. I mean, no more Mortal, but all I really wanted was, some Coke and chips. But I think nutrition probably played a role there, because instead of, getting dizzy and, everything spinning, it was like just going back and forth. So that was new. And so continued on and started doing the math in my head. And I thought, man, I'm really going to have a tough time. I can make that last cutoff, whatever it was. But, I thought to get from point A to point B, I'd really have to push it. And so I still struggle with that, right? I struggle with, well, what if, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what if I kept going? What if I made the final cutoff? So, that's a tough one, but more than anything, the dizziness issue was a little scary for me. And so the last thing I wanted to do, because that's kind of the situation I'd gotten myself into maybe a couple of years before with my foot, is continuing to kind of push something when things just didn't feel right.
Yeah. So what was this last cutoff number you're talking about? What mile was this?
Oh, it's on what is it, mile 19, I guess. It's 19 something. And so I remember this, I say kid, because I'm an old guy, but he came through and he was like, come on, let's run together. He's like, we're going to make 19. And in the back of my mind, I thought, yeah, I'm going to make 19, but to get from 19 to, 26.2, I'm going to have to do this in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, at that point, maybe my math was off. It didn't have a watch, and I'm asking a couple of volunteers at that point. So I should have tried to stick with him, but hindsight's 2020. But so yeah, I mean that's definitely a regret, just from a standpoint of the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, that's always one of the. I think everybody goes through it in a different way, depending. In your situation, obviously, you're trying to calculate and get to certain places, kind of to save your race. And, others are trying to get times or what have this, but I'm always curious to know, because to me, I've thought about, starting a whole podcast called, and I really haven't, but I just thought of it now, but starting, to call it the second loop, because that to me is where it all goes down, the energy is, of the race is long worn off. And you, like you said, you come back through and they, you see people finishing. A lot of people are already done going, come on, you get, keep going. And like what you have to go through, just everybody on that second loop. And now you're out there kind of in a, like you said, a fog and dizziness and, really kind of clueless about your pace because you have no pace. And what keeps you going there? You know, you said you may have a little regret about not going with that guy or whatever, but I mean, like when you're leaving the finish area to go back out and do a second loop, there's just basically there's not many worse feelings in the sport, certainly, and you know, it's one of those feelings in life that you kind of start to question yourself about.
Yeah. And that's a great point, I think, because to me, after that, after the turn there, and it's just like, to me, it was like training, right? There's no more kind of energy necessarily to feed off of after you get out of town. And so, yeah, I mean, it was totally different, and what that's a great analogy. I mean, obviously, as I told you, I'll be back. So still hadn't decided if that'll be Wisconsin this year or maybe Chattanooga, but nonetheless, yeah. So I've taken that my race bib, if you will, and so yeah, it's right next to my trainer. So every time I get on it, it's kind of like the old Notre Dame, and you smack it before you go out on the field. So you got to touch that, but. So yeah, that's definitely a motivating factor. Kind of the maybe the DNF there, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually pulled up what you wrote after that. I mean, you had texted me some things and said you felt bad. You know, it was a tough experience for you, and you felt a little rough. You know, going out of Madison and everything, but you wrote on a post to everybody in the Facebook post, and and said, as a parting thought, our self-talk can be a wall or a weapon. What you say becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you do. Oh, and Bucky, I'll be back, baby. So I was just like, I don't know. I really like that that you put that out because, we're just going, it had to feel rough. And, like you said, your first DNF, and there's so many emotions going through that. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to kind of curl up in a corner and just like wallow in it. And I love what you're doing, because whether it's Wisconsin or Chattanooga or whatever it is, you kind of used it as a motivator, as a weapon, as you said. And, you're, getting over that wall. And that's the best thing to do probably is get right back into.
Oh yeah. I mean, but in all honesty, I probably wasn't the most pleasant person to be around for the next 4 or 5 hours, but
Hey, I
hey,
disagree, man.
the sun came up the following morning. Beautiful day there in Madison before we left. So, it was all good. But yeah, you have a little pity party and you get over it. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I just chalked that one up, as a learning experience and use it as motivation.
Yeah. And along that lines, then, what are some of the goals for racing in life as you keep going, man, as you keep pushing? I mean, as your coach, I saw that, you kind of just, took a little bit of a break actually, but, you've been kind of back at it, and like we always say, in the ballpark. And I feel like you've, you use this in a positive way. So I don't know if you have anything concrete yet or what you've been thinking about, or how does these, I think these things affect us in some way deeply, it may not always be the clearest thing, but I don't know if you've maybe got some clarity from this or in life or anything else that you're doing now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it kind of gets back to that adage. I think you and Robbie have talked about it, and obviously David Goggins or whatnot, and kind of when you think you're at the end of your rope and you can't go anymore, you're 30-40% there in essence. So I think that's one of the things I pulled from that, because when I got off the bike, the biggest thing I was thinking about was, man, I haven't ran a whole bunch. I don't know. I'm walked the majority of this and actually did a little bit better in that regard. Um, so yeah, that kind of comes into play, because, when you think you can't go another step forward, you'll be surprised, and I kind of get back, a lot of that, maybe some of that mentality, from my father, who, he always used to say, if you believe you can, you're probably right. But if you believe you can't, you're probably right also. So glass is always half full.
Yeah.
To me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are a positive. I mean, and I like to think about it in a way, like what you went through, let's say the following week, the week following that race was probably a lot of self-reflection and what ifs, like you said, and honestly, I mean, I'm just going to say this because, I had a decent race or whatever. And in that week, I kind of had similar thoughts, but you know what? When that week was over, none of that shit mattered. And I had a decent race.
Yeah.
You had, probably what you consider one of your worst races or whatever. And it's almost like the past doesn't really exist if you don't let it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like we have to now what kind of thing. I mean, that's what I'm getting at is like, I mean, it might not even have been a week for me. We talk about there's a thing, the Ironman depression. It's kind of like the build up and then you hit it and then it's over. And now what kind of thing? And that's the shit I struggle with anyway. So, whatever it is, it's like, it's not what you did or what happened to you that day. It's what are we going to do now? You can use that a little bit, but to even dwell on it, even if it was a good race, and, I always think about this when people like I used to be obsessed with getting on the podium and going to Kona, and on some little level I still am. Not, but it's kind of like, okay, it's just another drug. You know what I mean? Like, so what if I get to Kona and then I get my ass kicked? What is that going to do for me? You know what I mean? It's sort of like we have to be, you have to be in your office right there, and dealing, doing what you're doing right now and today. And, it's that in the moment stuff I always talk about, but I just like how you handled it.
Yeah. And I think some of that too, even though I love triathlon, as you know, in some of my, comments on Training Peaks or whatnot, I have a lot of hobbies, probably too many.
Yeah.
So it's one of many, right? And so, there are going to be obstacles in life regardless of what it is, triathlon, health issues, you name it. And so I don't let any of those, or I try not to, uh, get under my skin too much, because to me it's temporary. And to me it says more about a person, how you deal with that adversity, how you overcome that. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I could go out, I don't think it's going to happen, but I could be optimistic and be on the podium, whatnot. 6 weeks later, nobody's going to know. No one is going to necessarily remember that. I'd like to think I would, and maybe, and maybe, my wife or kids might. But to me, what matters is, the effort, the dedication, the consistency, in whatever it is, triathlon, your work, your family, your faith, things of that nature. To me, that's what's important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you walk that walk, I guess that's what I'm saying. And I hope, going down that road wasn't too painful for you, but I just,
hey, I'm an open book, man. Full disclosure, it's open. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely are, man. As a coach, when I kind of, a lot of times I'll track, because I was up there with you and I saw you, but then the result is like comes to me through the phone or whatever. Like I don't see what's going on towards the end or whatever, and then my initial thought is always like, oh no, what happened? Then I'm kind of like, God, here we go. Coach, you did this, or what you didn't do, or all these kind of things. And then you immediately came back with a, I'm going to bring it back. He got me, but I'm not done. And, like that means a lot to me because, I mean, like we worked together, we tried everything we could. And, you had the knee thing and we tried to figure out what to do about that. And, shit happens. Right. And, I don't know. There's always just a thing, that we feel as coaches, I feel like, and, I just appreciate how you move that forward. I guess is the point,
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I will say it was pretty interesting though. Walking back into town, it didn't dawn upon me. I was like, wait, I don't know where Marcy's at. I went to the finish line, looked for her. But prior to that, everyone's, hey, great race. And of course, some of them, yeah, okay, yeah. But I had to tell one guy, look, I pulled the plug, and he was the best salesman ever. Maybe I need to hire him and go back and find him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't take no for an answer. He's like, look, I'm going to lead you to the red carpet. You're going to run down there. Everyone's going to clap for you. You're going to get that sweet hoodie and the medal, and they won't, find out for a couple of weeks, if ever. I was like, no. He was persistent, though. I'll say that. But
I didn't know that, but I was going to ask if that ever crossed your mind because you have to walk back to the situation.
Yeah, but it just came out of nowhere. It was like, the angel and the devil on each shoulder, and this guy, I mean, he was there. So, and then going in the hotel lobby with, just stuff all over me, sweat, and trying to tell him, hey, I really stay here. I have a room here and don't have any ID, so thankfully they, gave me a key. So
yeah, they let you up and to take your shower.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that walk back has to be tough. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Extremely. Extremely.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you did so much, and then it's just like, here I am.
Yeah, and I think there's a part of you too, or a part of me anyway, that I'm like, Marcy, she took 4 or 5 days out of her schedule to come up there, and so
yeah.
At that point, I'm like, sorry, I wasted your time. And of course, she gave me, a really good speech afterwards. But there's always that aspect, that I let someone else down other than myself.
Yeah.
But there again, that's temporary. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the hardest things, I guess, but like when you talking to athletes after something like that and they don't finish the race, but I mean, think about all you did leading up to, it's like you did 99% of the thing, you know what I mean? Just because you didn't get that last 1% done, they're not going to give you the hoodie or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just so weird to think about. I mean, Goggins talks about that all the time. He talks about how there is no failure, and he says, I'm trying to break the pull-up record. It's 4,000 pull-ups over in a row or whatever. And I got to 3,700 and you're saying I failed, he's like, there is no failure. It's just an attempt, and it's just a part of the process. And, he always says like, when you're trying to invent a light bulb, if you fail like 50 times, you're not fit. You're trying to invent the damn light bulb. You're trying to get trained for 8, 9, 10 months and then trying to finish a very hard thing. And you did all that work and got to the end and it was just that close. And it's crazy.
Yeah. And I like to think of it like this too. I'm sure everyone's got their own little thing, but obviously I'm gravitated to full distance as opposed to maybe halves. But in saying that, I think everyone needs those little, for lack of a better term, power pellets. I'm a kid of the 80s, so Miss Pac-Man, you remember the big pellets,
Oh, yeah.
And so to me, I think everyone has those, right? when someone told you couldn't years ago, or weren't good enough, what have you. To me, hey, it's another power pellet for me. So, in training for my next race, that's there. And so to me, I don't know, I'll let that serve as motivation and, just let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I may have said this to you, but if not, I'm going to say it here in public that, because I think about a month or so out, we were having some doubts about this race, like
We
major,
were
like, for real. Like, how do we even,
to the point of looking on, to see what the deferral policy might be. Yeah, that
yeah,
is, yeah.
yeah. So,
Mhm.
I mean, to me, the impressive and, I always feel weird saying I'm proud, but I was just proud to see you show up in Madison and get on that starting line and go for it. Cause we knew
Yeah,
that it's going to be, I mean, honestly, we knew it was going to be tough. It was going to be tricky. Sometimes things come together. You just never know. But just the fact that you came there and gave it a shot. I mean, it's how easy would that be to say, yeah, I'm not even gonna, like, why would I put myself through this and go through all that shit and then, like, quote unquote, not get it done.
yeah.
But
No,
I appreciated that, man.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, honestly, I was a little more concerned with the swim, based on that little
Oh, I know.
energy drink fiasco. So hey, it was house money at that point. So when I got out of the water, I was like, hey, here we go.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's a great outlook, man. You know, I deal with people all the time talking about how, a lot of people, I didn't train enough. I didn't this, think go. I'm like, just, go out there and give it a shot and try and figure it out. Like you're saying it, the house money thing is kind of interesting because it's always, unless, you're really like trying to win this damn thing or,
Yeah,
shatter some record. It really all is kind of house money if you think about it. It's like just the fact that you attempted it is like blows minds all over this country, I'm sure, and your family and your friend circles and all that thing. So it's just like we're going out to try something really hard, and we just had to figure out how to get it done.
yeah. I saw a kid the other day from the gym, and he had this bumper sticker. He's a big road biker, really talented, and it's something to the extent of just really simple, but it said, "Don't have to, get to / get to," and at the end of the day, that's what I'm thankful for is that ability that we get to. Who knows? Maybe next year I can. And I think that's one of the things that year I had the surgery kind of taught me was,
Mhm.
man, I miss it. So that was
Yeah,
tough. Yeah,
yeah, that's a tough period right there, man,
yeah.
that you went through. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think a lot of people will appreciate this, and I know I did. And it's always great to talk to you. I wish we could
Thank you.
hang
Thanks
out
for
more
having me.
and talk about battered badger syndrome a little bit, but maybe sometime down the road. It's yeah, it's kind of like, what am I going to do now? So, all right, buddy. Well, hang on. I'm going to end this recording. I need you.
Okay.
It's good
Sounds
talking.
great.
See you.
Thank you.